And the most funny thing about it is that Ned and this, like, survival guide thing that he had is because Ned didn't even have it all together. He was going through it like everyone else, but for some reason, he had a guide to help everyone. Okay, I'm gonna upset the Sharpay stands right here with this one, but hear me out. How would you feel if your boyfriend or partner or whatever came hanging around somebody that you knew had a crush on them? This show is the reason why I call everybody with a bowl haircut Coconut Head, okay? You can even call me Coconut Head today because I have my bonnet on. I have my bonnet on today. I don't care. My hair not done. If you want me to take my bonnet off, do my hair for me. Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna and I am back with another video. Welcome back to the pirate ship, also known as Harry Hook's pirate ship. Always remember that I am the captain. You are not my first mate. I don't got no first mate. Nobody's worthy of being the first mate. Got numerous other mates. No one is great enough to be first. And hello, my name is Harriyanna and I'm a hot mess. If this is your first time ever seeing me, please hit that subscribe button, by the way. We're almost to 70K. But I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Now, this video right here, y'all have been begging me to talk about freaking Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Everywhere I go on the internet, even in my Discord, shout out to Phineas because he is like a big stan of the show. Big shout out to him. Great supporter on the Patreon. You guys want to be in the Discord with him and the rest of the amazing pirates, go to the Patreon. But anyway, like I said, y'all have been begging me to talk about this show. Everywhere I go on the internet, in my Instagram DMs, on Twitter, on the comment section of my videos, my ass box on Tumblr, y'all have been begging me to debunk and discourse and deep dive into this television series that I love, by the way. And the time just never felt right to me, in my opinion, when it came to making this video. I don't know. It just never felt right up until now because I saw this.
Will a Ned's Declassified reboot ever happen?
Hi TikTok. Quick story time. For the last 2 years of my life, bringing the Ned's Declassified Adulthood Survival Guide reboot to life, it's been a huge goal of mine. Imagine Ned, Mose, and Cookie getting out of college, struggling through their 20s, bringing you tips on taxes, online dating, self-care, roommates, budgeting, all of it. I wanted it for you. I wanted it for me, and I thought it would be amazing to make a self-help sitcom for a generation that could use a friend. Cookie and Mose were on board. The original creator and producer, Scott and Michelle Fellows, were on board, but we don't own the rights to Ned's Declassified. So we pitched it to Nickelodeon and Awesomeness TV, who do own the rights to it, and they passed on it, and they won't let us take it to sell it somewhere else. So for now, the reboot's dead, and I'm really sad, and thanks for being fans.
Y'all, that video broke my heart. That video really broke my heart. And oh my gosh, it was so emotional. Like, I was like so close to crying because he looked so sad. And I was like, you know what? The time has come. The deep dive on Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Also known as Ned's Declassified for short. Like, nobody really talks about this series anymore. Like, no one really remembers it all that well because Nickelodeon stopped playing it a few years back. Like, I remember that the main reason I remember it so well is because, one, I rewatched the series back in January and I had to pay for it out of pocket anyway. And then also when I was in middle school, my first part of high school, they used to stay playing reruns of this show on the Teen Nick channel. I have a video about how Teen Nick sucks now. I will have that link down below. It's like you can stream it, but you gotta pay extra for it. And they put it on the worst streaming service possible. Amazon freaking Prime. It's like Nickelodeon wants you to forget the show exists. And because Nickelodeon is basically, I don't know what the type of beef that Nick has with one of their best shows ever, but you know what? I'm gonna set them straight. I'm gonna make sure y'all remember Ned's Declassified for the masterpiece, the chaotic masterpiece that it is. So we gonna talk about it. Harriyanna's take on Ned's Declassified School Survivor Guide. Like I said, I rewatched the show back in January, and y'all, this show has no business being this good. Like, it aged beautifully. There is so much shit from my childhood that I have watched and I absolutely could not stand as an adult and realized that it was not good. No, this show is still just as good as an adult as it is as a child, because I remember my dad used to sit and watch Ned's Declassified with me along with my mother. We used to watch Ned's Declassified as a family, the four of us, and my parents loved it. They freaking adored this show. So it really didn't surprise me that I still loved it now that I am grown. Like, this show has no reason being that good. It's a freaking chaotic masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Like, when it comes to children's sitcoms, this is one of the best. So you guys don't know what Ned's Declassified is. Ned's Declassified is a show that ran on Nickelodeon during the Teen Nick block from 2004 to 2007. The show is about surviving middle school. That's literally what it is. This show literally is just about a bunch of kids surviving middle school. And it's always done in the most obscure way possible. There's a particular episode where a kid in class drew a really inappropriate picture. And then the school was reported to the news, and the news came and did an entire broadcast on it. And there's another, you know how kids usually go around asking people for food? We all had that one student in class. There was a kid going around taking a bite out of everyone's lunches. They take normal middle school situations and put them on 10. Like, that. It's so weird, but it works so well. This show is a lot of fun, but if you want me to be more specific about what this series is, we're going to get into it. The show is about a kid named Ned, and he creates a middle school survival guide to basically help the rest of the kids at the school get through the day. And he is also joined by his two best friends named Cookie and Mose. Those are not their real names. Cookie's real name is Simon, and Mose's real name is Jennifer. And the show is usually about like what your typical preteens and early teenagers go through, like first relationships, you know, being nervous in gym class. Y'all, if you ever had to do something in gym class and embarrass yourself in front of everyone, it is painful. Because I remember we had to do like this dribble basketball relay thing where basically, you know what a relay is, where you run from one point to the other with the baton in your hand. Instead of a baton, we had a basketball and we had to dribble it the entire time going back and forth. So I'm bad at basketball. I did it and it went all the way off the side. I had to run over, get it. It kept doing it the entire time. I skidded my knees afterwards because I ended up falling on the floor from running. Middle school was hell. It's like they got off to embarrassing children. I don't know. It was so freaking horrible. And also, aside from nervous about gym class, failing a test, having somebody cheat off your test and you both get in trouble for it, having a project that you were given a month ago and you didn't do it until the last minute. That episode hits hard, okay? I understood all of like the pain that Ned was going through. I get it, dude. I get it. I don't even want to do my work either. But like I said, sometimes these were a little too specific. Like that procrastination episode really had me over here like, this hurts. And they also got the help from their school janitor's name, Gordy. And we all had that one adult in the show, not the show, in middle school that was just very helpful to all the students. And that's what Gordy was. He just wanted the best for these kids as he knew this was just a really strange time for them. And I love how Gordy wasn't creepy with any of the children. I really do appreciate that. Really appreciate that, because there are too many times when I watch Nickelodeon shows and the adults are being creepy with the kids. I'm glad that that never happened with Gordy. Like, no one from this show is really known like that. And when I say that, like, they're still working actors and whatnot, but nobody is like super duper superstar famous unless you're talking about Austin Butler. And fun fact about Austin Butler is that he was an extra on this show, and now he is like a big celebrity name. He's not really much of a household name, but he has achieved a big level of fame. He gets steady, consistent work. He's in a lot of big blockbuster shows and movies. Shout out to Austin Butler. Also, this is one of those shows, if you think you can just go into this show and just understand what's going on, you're good depending on what season you're on. If you do that with season 1, you're fine. But season 2 and 3, you gotta kind of watch them in order, because even though each episode takes place about a different subject, like he gives you a different tip or whatnot. Let's say you just wanted to watch it for the tips and not the plot, you're good. But if you're watching the show for the plot, you're gonna have to watch it in order, because if you miss one thing, you're gonna miss something, and it just throws it all out of whack. Okay, there were numerous times when I was younger and I watched this show and I didn't know what was going on, simply because I missed an episode. So I had to go wait until the next day, record it, and then make sure it was there. Y'all, missing that episode in the past was painful, okay? Y'all lucky. Y'all kids are lucky. If y'all miss an episode, y'all can just go stream it. No, we had to sit there and wait for them to air it again the next week. So we had to make sure we check our local listings to see that it was there. And one thing I do appreciate is that even though this show is extremely over the top, the kids actually act like kids. The kids actually act like kids. Even the kids that are just walking stereotypes, like the bullies, especially Billy Loomer, they still act like children. And it's so funny trying to see Loomer act like he's grown, but really he's just a sad, insecure kid that don't know better. Loomer actually had great character development in this show. Let's be real. Let's be real. Oh, the show was so amazing. Y'all, aside from the kids actually acting like kids, this is one of the Nickelodeon live action shows that had good diversity. And that's saying a lot. And the main reason why I think these two reasons is because Dan Snyder, it's not a dance show. It's not a dance show. That's why this show is so amazing. This show has aged so much better than both Victorious and iCarly. That's my unpopular opinion. I really cannot complain too much about the diversity because it was done pretty well. This show had a very colorful cast, and when I say colorful, I'm like, even though all the kids had different personalities, it was a good mix of people of color that attended to the school. And none of the black kids at the school were stereotypes, and even if they were, it didn't really matter because there was numerous ones there. And that's the big thing a lot of people don't seem to get about diversity, is that if you're gonna have a mean black girl character, you better have another black girl character that know better. And that's one thing I really appreciate about this show. They had a very great selection of their kids of color. I love that, especially how Cookie was. Cookie was a super smart kid. Such great diversity. And then the male teacher, the black teacher at their school, super nice man. The show have such good diversity, okay? And that's one thing that really surprised me a lot when I went back and did my rewatch in January, is that the diversity works. It works really well. And even though one of the girls was, a mean girl, we are going to get into her later because, like I said, she wasn't the only one. It'd be one thing if this show only had one black kid and it was Cookie, and he would have been the token black kid of the show. He technically kind of was the token black kid of the friend group, but like I said, it didn't really bother me all that much because the show's recurring children, there were a lot of black kids in there. I also appreciated that he dated a black girl too. She was biracial, but I love Logan Browning. I really do appreciate that we actually did get to see some black love on Nickelodeon that actually wasn't portrayed horribly, because the black love on Kenan and Kel sucks. Like the mom and dad, great, but the younger relationships, no, it doesn't work. I love Kenan and Kel, by the way. But like I said, going back to the bully, it didn't bother me because she wasn't the only black girl in the show. But we do have a problem with that girl's character later. We're going to get into that. There are issues with this show, but we're going to focus on the great right now. The show had a lot of fun with its characters, and I just appreciated how they didn't make any of the characters of color just bland or dim-witted like a lot of other children's shows do. Now, the show takes place over 3 seasons, which I find very interesting because when you look at the middle school system here in America, there are only 3 grades, so that makes sense. But one thing in particular that I find very entertaining is that the first season is not 6th grade. A lot of people think that the first season of Ned's Declassified takes place while they're in 6th grade. It does not. It is first semester of 7th grade. The second season is second semester of 7th grade, and the last season is just 8th grade. And it makes sense why they went this way. I find it very interesting in particular, though, that they went this route with the show because if they already started with them in 7th grade, all the kids already knew each other. You barely got new kids in the 7th grade. I remember in my middle school, we literally got 1 new kid. A whole bunch of kids left, but we only got 1 new kid. Like, all of us were literally just staring at each other, looking at each other like everyone looks the same. Why is there no one new? We got new kids in 8th grade, mainly because they forced us to take new kids at our school. I went to like a private type magnet school. It was annoying. Makes sense why they didn't do the 6th grade, because have y'all ever been in the 6th grade? It's awkward as hell. Especially that first month of school. You don't know nobody. And then the people that you did know from elementary school stopped talking to you. So it was weird. And then you had to make new friends. And then you probably didn't like those new friends after 2 months. And then you were a friendless loser for a little bit. Maybe I'm just talking about my past middle school trauma. But no, I'm glad they got it where the kids already settled in and knew each other for a while, so it didn't feel like we were literally just getting to know all of them. And it also makes sense why it started in 7th grade, because Ned was already doing the middle school survival tips and whatnot. I bet you he wasn't doing that until like the 2nd semester of 6th grade, when he realized how messy everything was. And the most funny thing about it is that Ned and this, like, you know, survival guide thing that he had is because Ned didn't even have it all together. He was going through it like everyone else, but for some reason, he had a guide to help everyone. Like I said, the first 2 seasons take place in the 7th grade. It really just built the foundation for the show. And then in the 8th grade, season 3, everything hit the fan. And I think 8th grade was the best season because it was the season of mess, okay? Everyone knows how messy 8th grade is, okay? 8th grade was extremely memorable. Especially depending on what type of middle school you went to, everybody remembers their 8th grade year because it was the year of mess. And I appreciated that this show decided to show that 8th grade was the year of mess. They did it so well. And one thing in particular that I really did like about 8th grade versus the 7th grade episodes is because we actually got to see them outside of school. Like the first semester, they didn't even leave the building. Second semester, we saw them go outside from time to time and whatnot. And the 3rd semester, they actually leave the school for once. Like, they left a few times, and I really love, like, it's actually one of my favorite episodes of the show where they had the party, and it really just captured how awkward middle school parties was. I never been able to go to one, but I went to like little get-togethers and stuff at school, and they were always so freaking weird. And I also find it very particular when you see people outside of school, like, you actually see how they act for real. Like, you know, when people go to school, they put on an act and they act a certain way. When they're not inside of the school setting, they can be like their true, authentic selves. Because, you know, when people go to school, they're always just trying to put on a front and whatnot to try to seem like a different way around everyone else. When they're not at school, you actually see how they are for real. And that's why I love that party episode so freaking much. One day, I think I'm just gonna review that particular party episode about why it's the best episode of Ned's Declassified in my opinion, because it was just super duper fun, but it was super duper messy. I also really do appreciate how barely any of the relationships work out, because middle school, you really be thinking that you're gonna be with that person forever, or if you don't get with them, you're gonna die and live without it. I really do like how in this show, no one really lasted together, because that's very realistic. Most relationships from middle school don't last. I know there are some that do last. I know of people that have them, and shout out to them. So cute. But no, the stuff doesn't even work. And then sometimes you don't realize that the person that you like was the one that was for you until 8th grade when you all leave. And it's like you're head over heels for someone, and then you're not anymore, because once you actually sit and get to know them, you realize they suck. And you also realize how people can be shallow that young, okay? They be head over heels with someone because they're cute. We're gonna get into that later. Oh God, we're anyway. Literally all of the characters in this show are over the freaking top. That's one thing that I've noticed when it comes to Scott Fellowes' work, is that his work is like a cartoon, but in real life. Like, if Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide was animated, I would still like the show. Why it works so much better with Ned's Declassified than it did with Big Time Rush, because of the setting that it was given. You were giving something just so generic. You were like, okay, you got kids in middle school, and then boom, they went over the top with that. But then Big Time Rush was a little too specific, and it just didn't work too well. Also because it worked better with Ned, in my opinion, because the kids were younger. They were doing all of this crazy over the top stuff, which made it more funnier. And in Big Time Rush, the show mainly just focused on older teens and adults doing all of this stuff too, and it just didn't hit the same. And a lot of it was tired. It's like he was doing a lot of what worked for Ned's Declassified for Big Time Rush, and I just wasn't feeling it. Now we're just going to talk about the three main kids, okay? We're going to talk about the three main kids. We are going to start with Ned Bigby himself. He is the sweetest kid ever. So freaking nice, so freaking genuine. He even helped people that he didn't like. That's how nice he is. He's actually one of the most likable main characters in a Nickelodeon show. Like, he's not extremely bland like Arnold for Hey Arnold is. I love Arnold, by the way, but sometimes he is just so freaking boring. But he's also not a horrible freaking person like Timmy Turner. Like, Ned, for the most part, he just wanted to get along with everyone, and he legit was helping everybody in general. Like, when him just wanted to be the nice guy and having everybody just have their mess together, he created a survival guide for everyone to help them. Like, literally, people would come up to him in the hall and be like, Ned, I need some tips. Help me, man. Like, if Loomer needed help, Ned would help him. Even though Loomer was horrible to Ned, I secretly think that Loomer just wanted to be friends with Ned. Like, why are you always in this dude's face if you hate him so bad? Ned, also, the ongoing thing without the series is that he has a crush on a girl named Susie. And you know, she moves away and then comes back. Scott Fellowes, you ain't fooling nobody. You ain't fooling nobody, because you did the same thing with Big Time freaking Rush. Next, we are moving on to Cookie, Mr. Simon Nelson Cook himself. I'm sorry, I just love his real name, Simon Nelson Cook. It's actually really funny, but Cookie is one of the best black characters, specifically black Bane characters, that has come from Nickelodeon. Dan Snyder could never create a great black character like Cookie, okay? He made Charlotte, but Charlotte always gets pushed around. Charlotte deserves so much better. Anyway, he literally is like the smartest kid in school. He loves technology, and he's also very freaking hilarious. I think out of all the kids in the school, the main circle, the main three, I think Cookie got the best laughs from me. And a lot of the laughs from Cookie came from when he interacted with Ned. Him and Ned had such amazing chemistry together. Oh, the kids on the show are so talented. Like, I wish I had that great comedic timing now. Okay? Like, y'all are so talented. Like I said, he is one of the best black characters that has come from Nickelodeon, because he was not a freaking walking stereotype. He was like AJ from the Fairly Odd Parents if they did better with his character. And also, he's like a very good carefree black boy. Is that even though Cookie he had his flaws about how he'd be very nervous about a lot of things. I specifically love that episode when he went after the cheerleading team. I love that one so much. Like, I think that is such a great Cookie episode. Now we're getting into Mose. I'm gonna be real. I didn't like Mose as a kid, and I didn't really like her now as an adult. Mose is just, I feel like she would be the kind of girl that would be so mean to me in school, okay? She would be that girl that would give me like backhanded ass compliments. I'm sorry, I'm not a Mose fan. It's just, she thought that she was better than everybody, especially Ned. And I really didn't like the way that she would talk to Ned and Cookie all the time, but that's just kind of like the way they bonded. That was just their friendship. But she would say some really mean things to them, and I would just be like, but that's your bestie. Why are you doing that? And also, it also really showed that if she were around people like her, it wouldn't work. So it's kind of like an opposites attract situation. She's friends with Cookie and Ned because they act nothing like her. And when she's friends with people that act similar to her, it's just kind of like, eh. Rose, I don't really dislike her character being in the series because Ned always brought the best out of her. And Ned always brought the best out of everyone. Ned is literally an amazing protagonist. Main character, specifically hero type guy. Ned's great. Ned's great. But you know, we talked about all the great that is Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Now we gotta talk about the bad, because there is some bad in this show and we need to address it. The show has a fat phobia problem. The show has a really big fat phobia problem. Many kids shows do have a fat phobia problem, especially the ones that came out in the 2000s. It's weird because they didn't do this with the boys on the show, but they did it with the girls. Like, the boy bullies were all skinny, but the girl bullies were all big, and they literally called them the huge crew. Yes, they literally called these girls the huge crew. That is so freaking mean. And then the huge crew girls, they were all portrayed as like mean, but not just mean, because there were other mean girls in the school too, which we will get into. These girls were mean, but they were also very loud and aggressive and very pushy, and they would hit people and they would be always up in people's faces. But then you would have the skinny mean girls. And when they're mean, they just kind of portray it as cute and making snarky comments. They weren't like them at all. They were both mean, but it was portrayed very differently. So that's one aspect of this show that did not age. This also just plays into how a lot of children's shows have that ongoing issue where they portray bigger people to be in a negative light, and it don't hit, which is a big no-no. And yes, I know this show came out in 2004, and that was like the thing at the time where a lot of people would make fun of big people in the medium, but just because it's a product of its time doesn't mean it's right. And we should still address these things, and we should call them out on it. Like, y'all kill me with that entire thing talking about it happened in the past. Just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it's okay. Also, the show has a misogyny problem. Y'all knew I was gonna get here. Y'all knew I was gonna get here. Y'all knew this was gonna come up, and it was played off for laughs and whatnot, but it still needs to be addressed. There is one particular character in the show named Lisa Zemo, and she had gotten a makeover when she entered the 8th grade, like so many girls do. And you know the typical early 2000s trope of when the girl takes her glasses off, she's apparently fine now. Like, that's what they did with Lisa Zemo. And she also changed her wardrobe and whatnot. And when she did that, all the nerdy boys were head over heels for her, including Cookie. Like, all the nerdy boys wanted to date her, and they started passing her around to when they could be hanging out with her, when they'd be like, I'm the one walking Lisa to class, I'm carrying Lisa's books. And they were just passing her around as if she were an object and not a person. They really just objectified Lisa Zemo in the last season of the show. And I really didn't like that. I really did not like that. And Cookie, I love Cookie, but I didn't like everything he did. And I really didn't like him in this last season when it came to Lisa, because he openly admitted that he only liked Lisa because she was cute now. And he didn't like her in the past. And I just thought that was really weird. I just thought it was messy of him to do that. I love Cookie, but he has his flaws, okay? I'm not going to sit here and act like he's a saint, because he's not. Literally, all 3 of the main characters have done something messed up at some point in this series, okay? I love Ned, but he did not make the best decisions. Like, he openly admitted that he liked Lisa Zemo because she was now pretty. Like, anyway, but to close out all of this, it's gonna be on a sad note. I'm sorry, y'all. Get ready. This show is amazing, but it gets no attention. It literally gets no attention. One, because they do not play it on TV. I remember Teen Nick used to have Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide marathons all the freaking time. They don't play this anymore. They act like it doesn't exist. They don't play it on Nick, nor do they play it on Teen Nick. There's like nothing even mentioned about it. Like we couldn't even stream this show, and you can't even stream the entire show. You can only stream season 1, and then you gotta pay for the last 2 seasons until this year. That's not okay. can barely even do that because it's on Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the worst streaming services out here. Nickelodeon, in my opinion, has really failed this show. They literally failed one of their best shows, too. Like I said, As Told by Ginger is one of Nickelodeon's best shows. You can't stream it nowhere. And like I said, it's obvious that Nick doesn't care for this show. You guys saw from the TikTok. And nothing about the fate for Ned's Declassified is going to change unless we do something. The fans. We got to be loud. We got to be annoying to Nickelodeon so we can at least get some type of thing from it. Like, why is Zoe 101 one of Nickelodeon's worst shows getting a reboot, but this chaotic masterpiece is getting nothing? Like, you can't even watch the show. And we as the audience really have to just bother Nickelodeon about it at this point. We really have to just bother Nick about it. So please give this video a comment. Please give it a like so you know it will do the algorithm justice and it'll get pushed out and share it around, because nothing is going to change about Ned's Declassified unless the fans finally speak up and do something. And people don't seem to understand that fans, we do a lot, okay? We do a lot. You know the reason why so many of these shows get reboots and revamps and they come back and even redesigns from sometime? It's because the fans, the audience, gave their opinion and their backlash and whatever. That's how a lot of this stuff is coming back up. And it's really just sad how Nick would do this to such an amazing series, because it's more than just a TV show. This show is an actual survival guide. It helped a lot. Like, this show offered so many good tips to not only kids in middle school, but high school too. Because that was also one issue that I had with the show, is that a lot of the tips that Ned gave were more for high school stuff, but them tips still helped in high school. Okay, this show is just helpful the entire time. And it's also helpful for college. Like, a lot of this stuff really helps me, especially when it comes to, you know, being organized and whatnot. The tips in this show, very helpful. Like, it's a fun show, but it's also very educational. And this show helped me so much when I was younger. And even when I rewatched it while I was an actual teenager and going through the same things Ned and his friends were dealing with. Like, and it just breaks my heart now knowing that kids don't even have something like this. Like, yeah, they had 100 Things to Do Before High School, which was a great show. I'm tired of people being mean, acting like 100 Things to Do Before High School was terrible, because it wasn't. But it was good. It was like Ned's Declassified and still very helpful to the kids at the time. But then Nickelodeon canceled it. Like, Nickelodeon is just kind of done with this entire saga of just wanting to help people. Like, why are y'all like this? I think this show would be a lot helpful because it would make kids feel a lot less lonely in this world. Because going through middle school alone is scary, okay? Going through high school alone is scary because you literally don't know what you're doing. That's why so many people turn to YouTube and whatnot. Like, you know, the entire thing about back to school series and whatnot. And I feel like a lot of people just doing it for views and whatnot. They don't actually care about helping people. But people make those videos because they know that they didn't have somebody in the past out there to help them before. And I am so grateful that we have people that make things like that, because I would have been so lost going into high school if I didn't know anything from YouTube, because they gave us shit advice in the 8th grade. And even in 6th grade, they gave me horrible advice up in the 5th grade about what's going to happen in middle school. Ned's Declassified did a lot for me as a kid. And it's just sad that kids nowadays do not have this amazing show. Like I said, it aged really, really well. Almost all the tips that Ned gave can be very helpful to people nowadays. And it needs to come back, because I don't know how to do this adult stuff. It's hard. Like, it's really freaking hard. I'm always losing my mind. I gotta figure out things on my own. Like, I don't like this. Please, Ned, please come back. Please come back, because I'm slowly losing it. I am slowly losing it. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I am a hot freaking mess. I'm just hurt right now. I'm just really hurt. Nickelodeon, the nerve of y'all to do this to not only one of my favorite shows, but one of your best shows. Like, one of your best shows. One of your best shows. You guys see how the iCarly, the mature iCarly is doing well? We would love to see a mature Ned's Declassified, y'all. Please. Give this show the love, attention, and recognition that it deserves. Stop focusing all your attention to that horrible Henry Danger thing universe thing y'all got going on. Leave Zoe 101 alone. Leave all the Dan Snyder content alone right now and give Ned's Declassified its props. I am done. If you like this, please make sure you give it a thumbs up like I said already. If you guys want to see more of me, please hit me up on Patreon. I have a lot of exclusive videos on there. I have behind the scenes content. You get to chat with me on Discord. Lowest tier is $1. Buy me a coffee, by the way, if you guys want to consider giving me a donation or a tip for this video. All is very deeply appreciated. All of you guys' support matters to me, okay? It really does help me. You guys helping me with Patreon help me so much, because YouTube, you know, I don't always get paid what I'm worth here, and having those people pay me monthly for, you know, creating content like this, it gives me the encouragement to keep going. Like, I do believe artists need to be paid what they're worth and whatnot. And yeah, please go support me on Patreon if you can. Go follow me on everything at Harriyanna. Like, every little bit counts. Love you guys. Thank you guys for watching so much. And yes, have a good night. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtime. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the chemical X. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they shocking. You know no one can stop